But I will say this: I think we got a chance to be one of the better teams we've had around here. This team has what it takes, and if we make the improvement that we're capable of making, and we stay healthy, I think this, when it's all said and done, this will be one of the better teams we've had since I've been the head coach. I love these guys. And, it's a really tough, hard-fought game. And if we'd have won 10-3, we'd have the same problems. We'd be sitting here today with the same issues. It wouldn't be anything different. It's still, it's just better when you come out on top. But those type of games make you better. And what I saw from my perspective and all my years of experience, this team has what it takes. And so that's exciting to me as we move forward. But definitely got a lot of work to do, and excited about it this week. Injury-wise, I think we're going to get Trotter back next week, hopefully, but he'll be clubbed up. So, all he could really do would be able to play guard and just be an extra guy for us, which still he's got a lot of knowledge, and, he's a functional guy, but not going to be able to snap for a little while, but should get him back. As I said last night, Xanders is going to be out for the season. Go ahead and do the surgery on him. Big loss for us, but thankfully we got some good depth there. EJ, in a little bit of a turn of events there, he really wants to try to play. So we're gonna see where he is today and tomorrow, see if he can do it. Talking to Dr. Brown, they think. I mean, he's going to have the surgery. It's a little ligament right in his thumb. But he thinks he can play, so we're gonna try to tape him up, split him up, and see how he does in practice today or tomorrow, and we'll go from there. So that's still going to be kind of up in the air, and hopefully he can play, and we'll be able to do it when the season's over. But other than that, we're in a pretty good spot injury wise.
As Dabo Swinney and Clemson prepare for South Carolina State this weekend, looking back at the Georgia game, I rewatched some of it last night. There's good things and bad things that you could say for both sides of the ball, for Clemson and Georgia. Let's start with the Georgia Bulldogs. The Georgia defense is lights out great. I mean, they're always in position. They had very few plays where they weren't coached correctly as far as where they needed to be. They have a championship caliber defense. You go back and you look at it again, especially after watching it the second time. They always seemed to know where Clemson was going to go, almost to the point where that maybe Clemson was, it's like stealing signs in baseball. And I'm not saying that's not bad as far as with what Georgia had, but maybe the Bulldogs picked up on it enough where they knew what was coming. Clemson, by the way, they've got some issues in that they had it 1st and 5, something like that, and they throw the ball 3 straight times. They don't bother to run the ball. That's not going to get you anything. You're putting too much pressure on DJ Uiagalelei and expecting his arm to carry you. Now, granted, from what we've been told and what we've seen last year, the guy going into this game averaged 300 yards a game against 2 Power 5 teams. But it seemed like the Clemson offense was just, as Chris is saying, predictable. But that's stuff that you can change. You can fix that. Now, I'm not saying if they match up with Georgia again, they would win, because I think that Georgia defense is really, really solid. I want to see that Georgia defense play against Alabama, just as a college football fan, because we've seen what Alabama's offense can do. I think they're one of the more talented offenses in football. I want to see that Georgia defense play against them. I want to see that Georgia defense play against Spencer Rattler. Just because, I like the idea of ones going against ones. And the ones going against the ones on the Clemson offense, Georgia won the game. Now, on the Georgia side of the ball for their offense, I know that Georgia fans are upset, especially with me on Twitter, because I said, hey, your offense was not very good, and they weren't. They weren't. I'm just being honest. They were not very good. And I know people are like, well, JT Daniels outdueled DJ Uyunglele. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. Offense didn't score a touchdown. The true people that watch football, they'll agree with you on that. So Georgia's got some work to do there on offense, or maybe the Clemson defense is really good. Dr. Vol asked if Kirby Smart is still a top 25 coach to me. I'm standing by what I said. Nothing changes. Wouldn't let him walk my dog. I know that Georgia fans are upset by that. It's just the way that I feel. Some people like vanilla ice cream. I've said that before. I don't. I don't think Kirby Smart's the kind of guy that can lead you to a championship. And when you have that kind of talent, you should be winning championships. And they don't. Didn't even win the division last year. I know that upsets people, but it's just the way that I feel. Now, they want to try to throw things back at me about the coaches that I do like. That's fine. That's fine. I just don't think Kirby Smart's a good coach. I think he's a good recruiter. I think that he knew that he got one on Saturday night. Biggest win in his career at Georgia. Biggest win in his career at Georgia. That's why he ran off the field happier than anything. Like literally sprinted off the field. He was happy to get that win. And it was a big win for Georgia. Clemson doesn't lose very much. Picking up a win there, especially in Charlotte, that's a big deal. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll take your calls. 803-978-1832. We'll talk about that and what's coming up this weekend on the Rundown. This is Fox Sports Radio 1400. Hey, what's your first name? Hey, Corey, you got a comment for the show? All right, hold on just for a minute, okay? We'll come back from the break. We'll get right to you, okay? Look, and Kirby Smart won on Saturday. Not taking anything away from him. But the reality is, I don't think he's a good coach. Really don't. I was listening to the Mazodcast, and they're calling Josh Heupel 3-and-out Heupel. I think he's going to be a gong show at Tennessee, which I thought was like, oh, wow, pretty crazy. That's a good point, Aaron. Very good point. Steve with a good point. Well, the last 5 minutes, they ran it down Clemson's throat. I'm not taking anything away from that Georgia defense because they were really good. Actually, I do like cookies and cream ice cream. How'd you guess that? Is that like a chunky boy thing? Is that what that boils down to? You're just making fun of me for being a chunky boy? Is that what it is? I do like cookies and cream ice cream. So that's true. I don't know about Muschamp. I think there were some special team issues. A muff punt. They missed a field goal. Not exactly the stellar special teams effort. Yeah. Baylor, man, you're right about that. That game has gotten to a point where no one really knows. I don't think that I think South Carolina is going to have to gain every bit of respect that they want because I don't think anybody's looking at them thinking, okay, they're a great team. So they're going to have to deal with that. So you would think on paper they could beat ECU, but I think this is the most important game of the season for Shane Beamer. I may say that again later. What's up, SCU? Good to see you, sir. Welcome back to the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400. Out to the phones we go. Corey, welcome to the program.
Yes, sir. How you doing?
Good, man. What you got for the show today?
So, first of all, I want to talk about that poor excuse of a game last night. My little Cardinals looked terrible. The South Carolina fans dodged a bullet when Scott Satterfield didn't come down here for that job.
Is that the feeling with the Louisville fan base that they're like, man, we're done with this guy?
We were pretty much done when the rumors were around when he was said he was going to, the rumors that might take the job down here in South Carolina. And honestly, none of those coaches should have left Atlanta last night with a job. I mean, it was pathetic. There was 2 times on special teams on the field goal that they had 10 men out there. I mean, I don't know. It was pathetic.
Lots of targeting last night. Everybody was upset about targeting.
Yeah. And, some of those were – I think the rule needs to be changed. But, according to the rule, there was some targeting. And then another thing that Scott Satterfield did was at halftime, I don't know if you caught it or not, but he was blaming the quarterback on some of the play. And I'm not a big Malik Cunningham fan, but that kid left his heart on the field. I mean, he was limping off to the sideline after every play and still going right back up there and giving it his all. So, I think the fan base is pretty much done with him, all the coaches there, and even the athletic director.
One game's got you guys angry. I got you, man. Look, I don't know. I mean, Louisville may right themselves, but maybe we should just go into the realm of maybe Ole Miss is pretty good. It could be that too.
Yeah, and I mean, Ole Miss. I think my hat's off to them because they played a heck of a game in every facet.
Yeah. I don't know what's going to happen with them there, but it's going to be interesting because I think as far as ACC jobs that are going to be up for grabs, I think David Cutcliffe's going to retire. Scott Satterfield's going to be shown the door. Same thing for Dino Babers. There could be 3 jobs open in the ACC next season. So we'll see.
All right. Thank you, sir.
I appreciate it. If you want to respond to what he said, 803-978-1832. We'll do Hot Coach's Seat on Wednesday. The Labor Day weekend kind of throws me off a little bit. It really, really does. Let's see here. SEC apologists over there running their snouts. I'm wondering if something happens this weekend and you have a couple of games where ACC teams are favored, which has angered the SEC folks, the folks that chant SEC. North Carolina State can beat Mississippi State. Mississippi State is not a world beater. And Tennessee is not a world beater either. Pittsburgh can win that game. If the ACC goes 2-0 in those games, will the SEC chant stop? In fact, the only time you should chant SEC is when Alabama plays. And maybe the Georgia defense. Georgia's a half a team with the defense. Other than that, you shouldn't be talking about how great the SEC is. People fail to mention that, Vanderbilt got blown out at home by a SoCon team. Yeah, nobody wants to talk about that. Nobody wants to talk about how LSU went across the country and lost to a Pac-12 team that the average SEC guy that's running around with his lower back tattoo is going to be like, with a Pac-12. Seriously. Let the games play out. It's not about the conference. There are interesting matchups this weekend, though, and those are 2 of them. Because Dave Doran up at NC State, he's just trying to get people to respect his program because right now he thinks, and a lot of people think this way too, they're a couple of steps behind Clemson and they've got to narrow that gap. And do people smell blood in the water? Thinking, okay, maybe Clemson that lost this game on Saturday, are they going to take a step back? And once again, it's one of those things where I think in college football, if you miss on one recruiting class, it can affect you down the line. Clemson hasn't missed on a recruiting class. Now, what Clemson has missed is that their offensive coordinator, Jeff Scott, is now the head coach at South Florida. You think he's regretting taking that job? going down there and losing by 3-4 touchdowns every week. I know they're trying to get the Bulls right, but I think it's better to be an offensive coordinator than to go be a head coach at South Florida. I don't know. Clemson fans are upset. They've been yelling at Tony Elliott to go back to work for Michelin. They're upset with their offensive coordinator. Even the casual fan could see what was happening in that matchup and thinking, "Hey, maybe there's a little bit too much of a repetitiveness here with the stuff that's going on." Either way, with Clemson, that's going to be the big thing. And the sad thing is that playing SC State this weekend is not going to help. Playing Georgia Tech next weekend, not going to help. It's not going to help at all. By the way, I did have something come up on my Twitter feed, and I don't like to mention dummies, but this made me. I actually tweeted out, "You should be following me at Rob Sounds Good." But someone tweeted out, quote, "Buddy of mine, SC Diehard, says rumor Beamer gets fired if they lose to East Carolina. I know these predictions are a dime a dozen or cheaper, but he said with the conviction of a cocky insider that levels of frustration from 80,000 fans seem to support the current Vegas line. Got nothing against Beamer, but I hope this time next week he's on a flaming toilet seat." That's coming from the ECU fan base. Do or die time for Shane Beamer if he loses to East Carolina. I look at that and I'm just like, all right, this just screams stupidity. I haven't seen any Gamecock fans that are in the realm of, if Shane Beamer loses to East Carolina, that he should be replaced. I know that everyone at East Carolina, I know everyone at South Carolina thinks they're a better program than East Carolina. Yeah, it's a mess as far as the roster that was left for them. But you think that an SEC team, not named Vanderbilt or Mississippi State at this juncture, should win against East Carolina. And if the Gamecocks go up there and they lay an egg, which I think it's laying an egg if you lose that game, I think people will be upset, but it's the first road game of the season with a completely different roster, different coordinators. You're not going to have 46-0 blowouts like you did last week. And the road's going to get tougher. They got to go to Georgia after that and then play a Kentucky team that looks like they found out how to pass the football. It's going to be tough on that front for South Carolina. But the idea that Shane Beamer is going to be gone after game 2 is just stupid. All right, we'll take your calls on that at 803-978-1832. Some comments from the chat room. We'll give you those in just a moment. You're listening to The Rundown. This is Fox Sports Radio 1400. Look, Coach Houston's been up there, man. They should be more together, you know? I'm going to grab some water. I'll be right back. More cowbell. That's funny. They're moving our studios. I may be able to do my show at home soon. That would be awesome. I do. I'm going to take a shot of whiskey when I get home. They're not very bright. Welcome back to the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400. My name is Rob Sanders. Thanks for joining us today. Some comments from the chat room. Brandon says, is South Carolina and East Carolina back to a pick 'em? Last night it was ECU was a 2-point favorite. Yeah, and I've seen it where South Carolina is a 3-point favorite. I've seen where there's it's just back and forth. As I'm battling a head cold. Anyway, we'll take calls on that at 803-978-1832. Is South Carolina due for the win? Or will they go up and be humbled by the Pirates? We'll see. Tom says he's heard that students are calling for Uiagalelei's head all the time. I think that's something else too. Clemson fans have been spoiled for a long time. What I mean by that is they've had what? Taj Boyd, the all-time leading passer in ACC history, followed up by, they had, who was it that came in after him? It ended up being basically they went to Deshaun Watson, to a year of Kelly Bryant, who ended up leading them to the playoff. And then they go into Trevor Lawrence. They're just spoiled. They got to calm down with all that. Out to the phones we go, 803-978-1832. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program.
Hey, Rob, this is Dan. How are you?
Dan, what you got for the program today, son, brother?
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, man, I want to talk about the Clemson offensive line. I know it's not a fun topic for you, but I want to talk about it, man.
Sure, what you got?
So, listen, I'm a Georgia fan, and look, I know our team won, but we got a lot of things to work on, too. But I want to know, because to me, when I saw that offensive line for you guys, that's a failure of an offensive line. I mean, if that were my team, I would say that. So
I think that the big thing on the offensive line, there are some injuries, but they rotated 3 centers.
Yeah.
I mean, and I don't care if you've got 5-star centers. If you rotate 3 guys, there's no continuity there. The center's basically the quarterback of the line.
Yeah.
And when you have 3 guys that are playing center, that's going to be a problem. So now, but once again, I'm not taking anything away from that Georgia defense because they were rock solid. It's almost like literally they knew what play was coming next. So that even before you go to the offensive line, the defensive line and the linebackers for Georgia were coached up so well, or they could just read whatever was coming next. That I mean, to bash the Clemson offensive line without talking about how great the Georgia defense was is not fair.
I agree with that. But I think that, I think it's unfair for, DJ to be getting bashed too, because I mean, that pocket was collapsing on him, man. I mean,
you can't throw the ball from your back. I mean, that's just facts. But as a quarterback though, and I mean, and if you're a follower of football, you know this, it's going to be pinned on you. Nobody, unless you're a real football head, can say who the starting left guard is for X team, but they can tell you who the quarterback is.
Yeah.
So, the offense, I mean, I truly believe that football is a game that's won in the trenches. You can have mediocre offense, a mediocre wide receivers. You can have a mediocre running back. But if you have an offensive line that can blow people off the ball, you're going to win a hell of a lot of games.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this, because this is what I've seen with Clemson, and I've always felt like Clemson. I think with this year, with this team that you have, with this offensive line, I think you have to be honest about how much better it's going to get. And I think that Clemson's going to have to transition a little bit of what they do on offense, because I think your defense can hold people under 20 points every game. Your defense is good enough. But what I have to ask you as a Clemson fan is, are you okay with playing a field position, boring, Kirby Smart kind of, this sucks, 21-14 kind of game, because your offensive line is so bad it can't pass block? I mean, are you okay with that?
I think the average Clemson fan just in the end wants to win, but I think that they like the idea of, hey, Deshaun Watson can go out here and throw for 300 yards. Uiagalelei is like this guy that came from Southern California, and he's supposed to be the next great thing, taking over that mold of the great quarterbacks that have been out there in succession at Clemson. But I think winning is the biggest thing, but it's a shame that this year's defense, I think, is better than the last 2 years' defenses, in my opinion. You can make an argument that this year's defense could be just as good as the 2018 Clemson defense that basically slapped Alabama around like they were nothing with all of those great playmakers that they had. But it's sad that if the Clemson offensive line continues to play the way that they're playing, that, I mean, you were going to piss away one of the greatest defenses in Clemson history if they can play up to the potential that they played on Saturday night. Because Georgia, and I'm not taking anything away from them, they won the game, but the reality is they didn't move the ball on offense. They didn't move the ball at all. And, that's just the way that it is. I mean, and they're one of the better teams in the SEC. If Clemson can do that to top-level SEC competition, they should win a lot of games.
Well, I guess my thing is, I'm just different in that I blame multi-millionaire coaches, and I expect answers out of multi-millionaire coaches, right?
That's
and
what
I know
they're
that
paid
Dabo's
for.
done
You're
a lot
exactly
for
right.
you.
Yep, you're right.
I know that Dabo's done a lot for you, but at some point it's like, hey man, did you not know about this offensive line, or were you just ignorant to it? I mean, come on, what's going on here?
In fairness, Clemson has not really had a great offensive line since Dabo Swinney has been there. I mean, and I'm talking about offensive line that's going to the NFL. The young man that got drafted last year was the big kid from Ohio that was a rock's throw away from Ohio State, but came down to Clemson. Didn't get into the mold that they wanted. He's going to be a big-time player in the NFL, but he wasn't great in college, And offensive linemen after that, I mean, they've got guys that are big. Bokhorst is a all-ACC guard, but if Bokhorst is a 5th-round draft pick at best. So they don't really do great on that front. The way the Clemson offense gets you is that they've got big receivers. They generally have a pretty good running back, and they've had an all-world quarterback that can make big-time decisions, and they're able to move the ball because the playmaking is creative. You can make an argument that Tony Elliott's playmaking is not creative, and it hasn't been for a good bit here, and people are able to read it, and they can't they become predictable. And Georgia just figured it out the other night, and that's why Clemson ended up with 3 points. And Uiagalelei he's got happy feet now because he got hit every play.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, I'll let you go.
Appreciate it, buddy. Thanks for calling the show. You're always welcome.
Yep. Thank you.
All right, there you go. 803-978-1832. Brandon brings up Mitch Hyatt. Got a chance to interview Mitch Hyatt his senior year. Yes, he was good, but he got drafted what? I mean, he wasn't like a world-changing left tackle. And it's not taking anything away from him. Had a good college career. But I'm willing to bet that the Georgia offensive line is probably going to have at least 2 guys drafted in the first 2 rounds. 2 of the 5 starters. Not so much for Clemson. All right, we're taking your calls this afternoon, 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. That is the number to call if you'd like to join us here on the Rundown. Quick break. When we come back, we will wrap up today's show. Thanks for listening. You're on Fox Sports Radio 1400. Yeah, I'm gonna get me a shot of whiskey. I don't know. I honestly don't know a realistic one. There we're gonna have to figure out with Uiagalelei if he's not like in shock right now. He's never been hit like that before and played. So I'm with the Cowboys. He's getting look. I don't think that Dabo Sweeney's head should be on a plate here, but the offense is really. You look that bad. Somebody needs to do something. They never do well. They just don't. Clemson never really has a running back either that's like, the best example I can use is Kevin Harris. Hey, I'm going to run through, feeds off of that, off the tackles and everything else. Yeah, for those, Blake's got a good point there. That Murdoch family murder thing is insane. That's a podcast waiting to happen. That's funny. Yeah, Jackson Carman, that was the guy. And he was the mammoth guy, but not really great. Jimmy's right. Good comment from Jimmy. Clemson had the same amount of rushing yards at 2, which is the same amount of wins South Carolina had last year. Good comment, Jimmy. Good comment, sir. Brother, can you imagine if anybody else said that, Caden? That's up on my blog page if you guys want to go see it. Let's execute the team. Holy crap. What a doofus that guy is. All right, you guys picking East Carolina or South Carolina this weekend? Line them up with that. Welcome back to the rundown. Let's go out to the phones. Ray, welcome to the program.
Hey, Rob. Just want to call. I went to the Gamecock game Saturday, and I'll tell you one thing.
How was the atmosphere down at Billy Bryce?
The atmosphere was as good as I've heard it over 10 years.
Okay.
And I tell you why. I don't know if it was the beer they sold at the concessions, but I think a lot of it had to do with the music. I mean, the atmosphere, game day atmosphere, hasn't been good in a long time. And I mean, I heard everything from a Nirvana song to AC/DC, and it was just more of a festive type of crowd. And I was very impressed with the overall game day experience, and also with the effort by the team. I know it was a lower division opponent we played, but that play that Jordan Burch made, my goodness. I mean, he's every bit of the 5-star, I guess, that he came in with. But
right.
But anything, really excited about my Gamecocks. I don't know how many games we're going to win this year, but it's going to be a build. And I think 2 to 3 years from now, I think we'll have a really good team. White, the running back, and Lloyd as well. I like the fact those guys are quick and they can cut. We haven't had backs like that in a while. And, just look forward to seeing how the season goes. And with Clemson, the one thing I was going to ask you, I didn't get a chance to watch the game, but
sure.
Usually Clemson has a very good tight end. And that's always kind of like the go-to guy if everybody else is covered. Did the tight end get much passes thrown his way in that game, and Rob, I'll take it on the other side.
Yeah, nobody got a bunch of passes thrown at them that game. It was just not very good. Thanks for calling the program, Ray. It was I don't know any other way to describe it, but I mean, I think I can say that like piss poor was the offense for Clemson. Outstanding was the Georgia defense. So, yeah. It was not a good showing for that Clemson offense. Not something they're going to write home about. Blake online says he thought Ed Orgeron yelling, "Bring it on" in your sissy blue shirt was worse than what the Notre Dame coach said. Yeah. By the way, UCLA is selling those, quote, sissy blue shirts, and they're giving money to charity for it, if I remember correctly. So that's kind of cool. Back out to the phones. Welcome into the rundown. Good afternoon.
Hey, Rob. How you doing?
Good, man. What you got for the show today?
I got a thing about the players that get to travel. Are they going to allow more players to travel because of COVID this year?
I don't know if they make adjustments for that or not, but I think that they should. I'll have to ask about that. I got some folks I can call and check with on that.
Because
we'll see.
Because I know that they have a limit that they can
they
travel
may be
with.
able to take them, but they can't dress or what have you.
Yeah, I can't dress with so many players.
Right.
I was wondering if they had changed that for this year.
I will check on that. That's an absolutely great question. I will check on that, and I will either tweet it out or we'll talk about it tomorrow. But I've got a couple of folks I can call that'll give me that absolutely know the answer to that question. And because that's something I would like to know, because you never know what's going to happen out there. So that's a good question.
Never know who's going to get something and have to go home Friday.
Right. You're right about that.
All right. Thank you, man.
All right, man. Thanks a lot. Caden says Ed O is a dope. You know what some people are calling Ed Orgeron right now? They're calling him Gene Chizik. Remember Chizik at Auburn, who rode that national championship trophy with Cam Newton? Had a lifetime changing quarterback there. That's kind of what Ed Orgeron had with Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow leaves, and Ed Orgeron's not worth a damn anymore. Prove what I've said that's wrong here. I'm waiting. He may be the new Gene Chizik of the SEC West. I just hope they don't put him on TV to do commentary. He should be doing. I'd watch an Ed Orgeron cooking show, like talking about how to cook like Cajun food. I'd watch that. It's like fat boy life right there, man. I'm all about that. I don't know. But I think that his seat is on fire down there at LSU. Remember, they got a new athletic director, and maybe he doesn't want him. I don't know. But the idea that he is the latest Gene Chizik is definitely in the mix. Now, someone said maybe Dabo Swinney is Gene Chizik. And I was like, no, Dabo's had 3 quarterbacks that have been great, not just one. Jimmy said at least Gene Chizik was literate. Oof. I mean, way to go, Jimmy. What a line there. I think that that should be interesting stuff with how Ed Orgeron's going to go through his season. They play McNeese this weekend, and I thought they were going to go into UCLA and blow them out. Now we've got him talking about people in, quote, sissy blue shirts, and UCLA is making fun of them by selling the sissy blue shirts. That's basically what they're calling them now. And hey, you've even got, and I'm looking for the clip here, but you've got the head coach Chip Kelly saying point blank, yeah, nobody was really shocked that they lost that game.
There may be some people surprised out there. There wasn't anybody surprised in our locker room because of the preparation that they put in this week.
Man, take that home, UCLA or LSU fans. Apparently 20,000 LSU fans on the road at that game. They were talking about like having a Bayou cook-off down in the a cookout down in the at the Orange Bowl, or not the Orange Bowl, at the Rose Bowl. and then boom, they're done. What a mess. 803-978-1832. We have a couple of minutes for a call here. Kent doesn't like Dabo Sweeney. Sorry, Kent. Alan says, I don't know that LSU won 5 games last year. Yes, I do. Apparently, you don't hear anything. We got to turn up Alan's hearing aid battery. He's having issues with hearing things. He only hears probably, if I say 10 words, he hears 3 of them, and then quotes the 3 of them and without the other 7 words for context. Can you imagine, though, if you were jacked up as an LSU fan, you're going to UCLA, and as Baylor Man says online, you got to go home after that. You had to go through all the protocols they have in California, because California is basically another country right now. I mean, they're recalling the governor, and we may shut down tomorrow, and we like solar panels, but it takes 8 years to get them where you can actually use them. I mean, they really are a different country over there, and you get to where you can abide by all that stuff, and your team goes out and lays an egg to a team that your coach says their fans wear, quote, sissy blue shirts. Not my quote, that's his. Maybe a long year at LSU. Tomorrow on the program, we're going to have a guest on talking about the upcoming weekend, as I'm working on several, and all kinds of other things that we'll have for you here on the rundown. We'll start looking at some of the spreads for this weekend. Man, that South Carolina, East Carolina spread has jumped between Gamecocks -3 to East Carolina -3 in the matter of 12 hours. No clue where that's going to end up. More of the rundown tomorrow. Thanks for checking us out on Fox Sports Radio 1400. You guys are awesome online. Thanks for showing up, Kent. I'm glad they let you. I'm glad in the nursing home they let you listen today. You rock, Kent. Let's see here. Jimmy, tonight I'm doing trivia. You know about that. So spread the word. Talk to you guys later on. We'll see you later.